Welcome folks, there's going to be another video of insights on random events, topics, is random ponderings. Either they connect with you or they don't. And today we're going to be talking about fairy tales, narratives, stories, and the lineage of humanity. So obviously in this current modern age where many young children, many generations have been altered, they believe different stories. The narratives and the influence they have is based on TV shows, books, that has been pushed by the system to alter their mind, take them off in a different direction with a little bit of truth, but mostly with lies. That's why it has to be mixed up and use those same things that they are associated to in order for them to be brought back to actual truth rather than the influence of false preachings and false truth. In that sense, there is something I read yesterday where it shows that Jesus Christ died for all of humanity. He sacrificed selflessly without trying to save his life in order to redeem mankind, give salvation to all, so that in accepting him, in being his grace, his protection, that it cancels out any negativity, it conquers death, it conquers evil, and in that way we are all brought into the family and the kingdom of God. Now, how this can be connected to the modern civilization, modern terms, especially with the Harry Potter crowd, which is a very giant crowd, as many children in the last few generations have read it, fallen in love with it. The concepts have entered their mind. Now, in Harry Potter, for those that haven't read it, just to have a quick summarize, it was a child, and the main part that I'm going to cover today is the Dark Lord, the evil one, Voldemort, which you can say the negative aspect of that story, went and tried to kill Harry Potter, who was supposed to be some sort of chosen, the one that was written about. But the mother, instead of thinking about her own life, instead of trying to protect herself, when the child was being attacked, sacrificed herself with pure love so that that protection can be covered onto the child, who ended up being Harry Potter. Now, throughout the storylines, the intuitive, intelligent ones were telling the evil mastermind, who did not understand love because he had fallen so far from source or God or whatever you want to call it in that universe. It did not understand what love was. It did not understand what compassion was. So it didn't know that realm of magic that transcended all physical attacks and defense and magic wands. But there was a different kind of magic world, a different kind of protectorate based on love and compassion that it did not understand. That is why it was never capable of understanding why he could never attack this prodigy child that he was destined to fight and all these things. And it was explained to him that there was a protection, that because the mother loved this child so selflessly, that it sacrificed itself and it has some sort of protection magic around it. In that same way, Jesus Christ died for all of humanity. He could have chose not to, if those that do not realize that that is prophecy and it was going to happen anyway. It was predestined to happen so that all of the children of God can go back to him. It was predestined, but he chose to go through that even though he was sinless. He never stole anything, he never lied, he never had a little bit of hate in anyone's eyes and all these other things. And we feel that somehow we are living in an unjust world. We don't do anything bad, even though as a children we probably were a little bit disobedient. We probably took more than we should have. We probably lied, we probably stole, ran around, did some strange things that if we were thinking about 100% perfection, none of us would be. Even some of us would be 99.9. Jesus Christ, in that storyline, was a perfect person who had no sin and did not deserve any sort of punishment, especially when we're falsely accused. We feel like this is so outrageous. Even if we deserve some of this hatred, we don't deserve all of it. But this individual deserved none of it. But even though that was true, the world, the evil, the corruption around him completely destroyed him and terminated him in such a way that he did it so selflessly that all of human race was put under that love, compassion, protectorate. And anyone that goes towards it, anyone that chooses to pick up that protection is automatically encouraged or included into that family lineage. And that was the whole point of it. In order for human beings to understand that there is not a battle that they have to fight, the battle has already been done. Obviously, you're going to face a little harsh times little resentment from those that are so far from in their heart, that are unable to accept that connection because they want to do it on their own. They want to prove something to themselves. They have some trauma. But in that same sense that Harry Potter's mother did a selfless love sacrifice, if you can call it a sacrifice, in order to give some sort of protection level coverage over that child, the same thing happened with the Son of God, who decided to selflessly sacrifice himself, loosely use the term sacrifice, so that the human race can be protected under the covenant or the new covenant of God. Now, in that same sense, connecting storylines to other people, there is a story in Game of Thrones I'm sure many have watched Game of Thrones, know the storyline, but near the ending, as you know, Jon Snow was the technical lineage to be the ruler king. So the dragon Daenerys bloodline split off, and the normal Starks bloodline married. They had a child. The child disappeared, and then it was refound again. He was supposed to be the rightful ruler, but then he murdered his so-called aunt or sister, and he was abandoned into the walls, not to have children, so they cut off that lineage. And then the three-eyed raven, which was technically artificial intelligence or some other being who people thought would be a good king rather than the rightful king, that three-eyed raven was named king, and he wasn't even interested in ruling the people or bringing about a prosperous world. He got distracted and started chasing dragons, and then he allowed average human beings to dictate the rulership of the seven kingdoms, which has a lot of truth on what actually took place in the real world. If you think about it, if we saw human existence, Earth, humanity, everything at a storybook form based on the Game of Thrones, Jon Snow is Jesus Christ. He is the rightful heir, the rightful rulership, the king of all of human beings, all of human kingdoms, all of the earth. And if you want to see it in a story form, that's the best way to connect it. Not on a spiritual, not on a Christianity religion. There's other religions, there's this. Human beings were meant to be under monarchy, but not under the evil, corrupt, Hollywood-based monarchy that we're sold, but on the actual concept that there seems and needs to be a ruler, someone that guides them lovingly, compassionately, and it was predestined before time itself. The same way Jon Snow, if you understand the stories of Game of Thrones, was predestined to be the king of the seven realms. He had to go through his own storyline, he had to go through his own lineage, forgets about it, comes back, and all these different things. But in the end of that story, he ended up not going to the throne, even though he did not want it, but they kicked him out because of some faulty storyline, and then they put the three-eyed raven, which is the artificial fake ruler, on top of the throne. And this is the storyline of the real human beings. Rather than what one would have thought there would be a ruling king, this time around they decided to selflessly sacrifice, allow other members of that kingdom to grow, to find itself, to learn throughout all of time and history, so that finally, as the story goes, when the rightful king returns, he has his men, he has his round table, he has all the things that are ready to rule for the 1,000-year reign. This is a good way to associate oneself with the rightful heir, the rightful throne, and how stories can be used to supplant certain conscious ideas into the mind. Now, as you know, the Game of Thrones ending was finished before the book was written. Certain influential individuals got involved to finish that story very soon, and these multi-million-dollar programs, multi-million-dollar scenographies do not get made for no reason. There are always to implant ideas into the mind, and when I watched that, the concept that the rightful ruler, rather than being allowed to rule, was abandoned to the ends of the wall. You can call that the Antarctic wall, and he was told never to have children. Why they would allow someone to tell someone else not to have children, even though he was the rightful ruler and heir, is a bit strange, which also shows you how much they care about lineage, how much they care about bloodlines, how much they know the children of rulerships do have a little bit more influence. They have genetic connection and they have spiritual connection to the certain things of this world. It's easier for them to tap into, let's say, certain influences, or nature knows that in their genetic lineage they are meant to rule this nature, they're meant to rule this kingdom. So it's a bit more nicer to them. Things happen a little easier. They can influence the positivity or the negativity, depending on what lineage they have, of this rulership. And these are the things one must ponder on, one must understand about the world we live in, because there is way more magic, way more hidden secrets, way more rulerships than we truly are led to believe. And that is why they want us kept ignorant. They just want us to assume things happen for random reasons and there is no main goal behind it. Now for some other random influential thoughts. So most human beings in this current society we live, unfortunately through social media, upbringing, culture, Western society, it has been trained into the mind to live for the sake of other people. On an average basic level, it is the living for one's family, living for one's culture, living for one's idea of what the future is supposed to be, or what the state wants, what the nation wants. But we're always doing something for other people because we've been trained to be so needy through social media to get outside approval for our own happiness. This has become the basic way of thinking, basic way of living life. But as long as we live this way, we will never have happiness and we will never truly be at peace, because no matter what we do, it's going to be on some level for the reasons of others, and over time that will bring about resentment, that will bring about hatreds towards those that we secretly think we're pleasing. Now this individual or this group or this culture or this nation might not have even wanted the individual or even know that they exist. Like when a member of a sports team worships the team and loves them, and they think they have to go to every parade, paint their face, buy their jerseys, they think they're worshiping the team, but that team doesn't even know that person exists. But when that team loses or when that team trades someone, they get all angry, they get all mad, they think they've done them some disservice, even though they were just following along, going along with the narrative without realizing that their actions were based on something that had nothing to do with them. Now, more on a personal way, if you live your life based on what your parents thought, what your wife, children, girlfriend wants, what society tells you, now there's some level of getting along, moving forward in life, understanding what the purpose of life is and all these things. But in the back of your mind, if your main encouragement, your main focus on living life throughout your entire life or throughout the majority of your childhood, teenage years, adulthood, is for the sake of others, eventually resentment will come in. You will feel in the later days of your life that you have never accomplished anything, that you have not done anything meant to do or meant the greatness of what you could be. And then that is how resentment slowly kicks in and creates a negative vibe for yourself. The greatest trait of a human being, in my the speaker's personal opinion, would be joy and the capability of getting others to like oneself due to the energy and due to the influence of one's sense. And that usually comes from joy, usually comes from high vibration, love and compassion, and others feeling that this is someone they can relate to. Why I would consider this to be the best trait? Because not for friendship, but for the influence and the change it comes to one's mind. Love and compassion and understanding changes the minds of many more than influence, facts, and what would be considered truths. When some people have a very strong belief, strong idea, strong narrative, you cannot just come along and tell them to change. You cannot just tell them to come along and join your side of the party or join your side of the view. But if you are someone that's joyous, you have a very strong will and you're able to influence others, not for the sake of influencing, but yes, for being what you are. It is so powerful, it is so pure that it changes the hearts of others by just looking at you and observing you. That seems to be the most influential, powerful, because that's when you get the large crowds. Many people love these social media and having followers. It shouldn't be done for that sake, because doing it for that sake does give off a certain vibe, which people notice. And then it becomes disingenuous. But for being the pure sense of what you are, and if it is of being liked, of being friendly, of being joyous, that joyousness is attracting others. It naturally brings those that are seeking others, that wants to be in good presence, that wants to be happy towards those that are acting in such a way. And I'm gonna finish this one on this. Last note, for those that see eating, sleeping as something that needs to happen to a human being, you have to wonder, have you ever questioned if this is true? There are many belief systems, there are many concepts that one needs, that one thinks they need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But then once you question that, you realize breakfast, lunch, and dinner is an addiction, is a programming done by the food industry in order to sell more cereal, sell more food, keep people fattened up so they can come back for later nutrients. And it's not even feeding them as they should be. When you change your diet, when you alter your food, you actually have more energy the less you eat and the more proper you eat. You realize food is actually more of a drug than an actual nutrients that the human beings need. In that same way, we have to ask ourselves, what is sleep? We're kept in a society, in a culture that you get drained, you get tired, the food also influences that. But if you go past it, you realize sleep in itself can be thought about. It is the actual pondering and the questioning if what is sleep that disables the need for it. You can do it by force. Some try to stay awake for days and days and days, weeks, try to push their body, push their sense through pure will. That can also hack your way out of it. But the most easiest way to start a diet or start a change in habit is to ponder this thing that I assume is natural, that needs to be done, that has to be gone through. Is it so, or have I just been led to believe because I've been doing it over and over and over and over again that this is how it has to be? Once you start that pondering process inwardly and questioning, then your mind intuitively kicks back some answers, kicks back some insights, and through those insights, the strong hold that the idea you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner, even though you get hungry around those specific times, because that's what a addiction does. It comes back around the same time, tells you this is normal, when in reality it's just the addiction kicking off. In that way, sleep also, you can question it. You don't even need that much. You can wake up with the sun, sleep with the sun, have more energy when you sleep, and not wake up so droggy. These are the concepts one can go through, question, and you can say hijack or reprogram your entire living state towards not being so. I hope you've enjoyed this version of some insights. Make sure to follow all my other social media sites, and I'll see you soon, folks.